Kalispera to all the urbanists out there. Today we're going to explore the secrets of the Parthenon and the surrounding area of the Acropolis. It is one of the most important ancient sites in the entire world. It has inspired countless pieces of architecture throughout the Western world, including my own home country of the United States of America. This is the birthplace of democracy, the birthplace of drama, the birthplace of architecture as we know it today in terms of Greek and Roman style architecture that followed. This is one of the most important sites in the entire world, and we're going to find out why. I'm Ariel, this is Urbanist, and let me know where you are watching from. I'm so excited to show you around today here in the Acropolis. So we are right now at the entrance right by the Acropolis Museum. Acropolis Museum is right behind these trees. And yes, there are many cats just chilling over here. We might bump into Socrates, the reincarnated soul of Socrates, and other major philosophers. So if you remember from the tour I did of the neighborhood of Plaka, the oldest continuously lived in neighborhood in the world, at least one of them. There is one of those main roads where we saw this beautiful Corinthian column. The very first example, or only first living example of a Corinthian column. That passageway was the processional streets where people would walk to go to a massive theater festival, where plays would battle it out to win a grand award. This is where they would end up, at the theater of Dionysus. But who is Dionysus? Oh. But Dionysus became Bacchus in Roman times, and he is the god of merriment, fertility, wine, and also drama. Honor is where drama in the West. There we see the Greek mountains.
The current building is
Here it is. So this used to be the main theater for the ancient Greeks during the time of Pericles, during the time of Aristotle, a little bit before him, Plato and Socrates. Maybe they themselves visited one of these plays. It was the time where one of the most famous playwrights in history, that his plays are still performed to this day, Sophocles, performed his works here, especially Oedipus Rex. So here is Sophocles. He wrote Oedipus Rex. Let me know if anyone has seen Oedipus Rex. Here's a kind of a still from a performance made in the early 1900s. So how did this look like? Let me show it to you right now. During its heyday, this is a depiction of what it might have looked like. And look at that. Imagine seeing that huge, gigantic stage. Not that many actors, anywhere between 3 to 4 actors and a chorus, all performing over here. Katie, you say, wow, thank you. Wendy says, I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Wendy. Imagine sitting there all these years ago. Yeah, so if you were a very rich patron, you would have sat right here in the VIP seating. And you know what? History tends to repeat itself. There's really nothing new. Maybe yes, we have phones. Yes, we have flying vehicles that soar through the skies. But everything besides technology ain't really new. And as today, where we have dedicated VIP seats and you buy VIP tickets to, say, basketball games, if you're in the US, today, back then in ancient Greece, it was the same thing. The cool thing is, you also had your names written on the VIP seating. Priyesh, namaste. Thank you so much for tuning in from India. Welcome. Those are cool seats, says CR. Yeah, this is so amazing, says Monica. Oh, yeah. So I am a filmmaker. I'm a storyteller. I do live video, and it might not be the high drama that you might see with the Oedipus Rex or the works of Euripides as well. Let me know what's one of your favorite plays from those writers. And there's one more. So there's 3 main tragedians, guys who wrote tragedies. Sophocles, Euripides, and who's the third one? Let me know in the comments if you know. I, being a filmmaker, being someone who is invested into movies and telling stories, is a really magical place to be here because this is where Western drama was born. We wouldn't have a Shakespeare, we wouldn't have had a Spielberg if it weren't for this theater supporting the works of 3 main guys, and of course there were many others, but we have the works mostly for 3 main tragedians, and then we have one from a comedy writer as well. So it is just absolutely wonderful to be here. Now, what did they battle? So they had to do a 4-part performance, each of the writers, in order to participate in the theater festival. It would be 3 parts of a story, plus what was called a satyr play. And the satyr play was basically very lewd, very comedic. It was kind of a way to cleanse your palate as you saw a man gouge his eyes out, like you would see in Oedipus Rex. And worse things happen in Antigone, for example. So they had this guy dressed up as a satyr, which is like a half guy, half goat, running around the stage with very big phalluses. Tommy says amazing green screen. Yeah. Amazing green screen. Yeah. So that's funny, Tammy. Thank you so much for becoming a super urbanist. And we had another super urbanist yesterday. Everyone give hearts to Tammy and Lowell. Lowell also became a super urbanist. Aristophanes. Yes. Now he's the comedy writer. And did someone mention the third tragedian? Not Aristophanes, he was the comedy. Is it me or is it just the volume low? I'm kind of whispering because there's a lot of like, it's very quiet. Very quiet. I don't know. Very quiet. No one's really talking loud. Put the volume up. Wow. So here we have Euripides, whose namesake is still in the ancient Roman theater in this area of the Acropolis, that's still in his honor and still used to this day. And one interesting thing is, I said there was 3 to 4 characters, 3 or 4 actors actually. There might have been many more characters, like Oedipus Rex. You have Oedipus, you have his parents. Spoiler alert, it gets very weird. You have soldiers, you have a general, you have a lot of characters in Oedipus Rex. How could they be played by 3 or 4 people? Usually men. Well, they had interchangeable masks, so which switched off the mask. The weird thing is that the mask had hair attached. Not this one, but you would see something more like this. Actual hair. I'm not sure where they got the hair, or where they got maybe the textiles, but it looked like hair, and they actually had it attached to the mask. And they would switch those throughout the entire performance to play a different character. And then the chorus would kind of give everyone a little bit more exposition. Now, most of the plays are no longer really visible to this day. Very few remain. Only 7 from Sophocles, only 7 from Aeschylus. This is one of the few fragments from the original, or one of the original writings or rewritings of Oedipus Rex. So for context, I have the numbers here. Aeschylus wrote 90 plays. This guy over here. 90 plays, only 7 survive. Sophocles wrote 120. One of them being Oedipus, the other one being Antigone. Only 7 survive. And our man, Euripides, wrote 92 and only 19 survived. So luckily he had the most that survived, which was nice. So let's continue walking around through the Acropolis. Hey, Mudkapa, 8:45 p.m. It's over here. No, over here it's a little bit earlier, 6 p.m. So right now we are standing of years. But what is the Acropolis? Well, the Acropolis is a term used throughout ancient Greece, and it basically means a fortified hill. So there are a bunch of acropolises all around Greece. Acropoli, is that the plural version of it? But on the very top is what we call the Parthenon, which is the main building that's very famous, and we're going to see that towards the end of this video, so stay tuned. So what was this, a theater for plays? Yes, Babu, yes. Jeannie, thank you so much for 100 stars. Someone else left stars. Kay, thank you so much for letting me know. Oh my gosh, Ariel touched something. I did not. I touched nothing. If it was merely accidental. So we're going to take our sweet, sweet time here. If you're watching for the first time, this is a live video. The point of it is to enjoy it live. If you want to see something quicker, go watch a documentary. There's many other vlogs. But here, on Urbanist, on the live video, we take our sweet time. Jonathan Yatos, Kalispera. Hey, Mitsakos, Kalispera. You're watching from Marousi in northern suburbs of Athens. Oh, so cool. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now Greece has the inspiring aerial viewer. Thank you so much, Girl to Curl. Inkspire Life says this is surreal. It really is. It really is. You know, admittedly, I'm a bit speechless. I'm usually a lot more talkative, but here, so why are we in a city called Athens? What does that mean? Well, the Greeks had a very close relationship with the gods. To them, the gods weren't merely metaphysical beings, maybe like the Christian God that is in common with Yahweh, the Jewish God, Allah. All the Abrahamic gods are one of the same. It's a very metaphysical character. In the Old Testament, it might be a little bit more real, but still, it's kind of larger than life, the Abrahamic God. But when it comes to the Greek gods, they were more like characters in a TV show. You knew about their lives. You knew about who they were with, who they married, who they had an affair with. You knew all about their inner workings and their drama. We're gonna see your better views of Athens. So the gods all had their inner lives, and we know a whole lot about them. We know a lot about Zeus's antics. Some of them are quite graphic if you read into it. So not spoiler warnings, but trigger warnings for sometimes learning these mythological stories. But there's one specific story that ties into the very namesake of the city right now of more than 4 million people. The city that used to have up to 400,000 people in ancient times as we're walking around. So keep that in mind as we wiggle around these ancient sites. Zeus one day was having a terrible, throbbing headache where it felt like his head was going to explode and he had no idea what to do. He was searching for help and the other gods were like, get over it. Desperation, after trying to live with the pain, he decided to ask the god of forgery, who the Roman version is Vulcan, to bring his hammer and his axe, and slam his head open. His head was smashed open, the headache went away, but out of his head came a fully formed woman. This woman was all donned in armor, born out of Zeus's skull. Now, this is very interesting because I just went to Mexico and there's a very similar analog to Athena, Huitzilopochtli. But they take they have similar origin stories, but they take two very different paths. Huitzilopochtli was born out of the womb of his mother, who was impregnated by a flower, and came out of the womb fully armored, fully adult, and fully intelligent. But Huitzilopochtli went down a path of blood, guts, and gore, while Athena went on a path of, yes, blood, maybe some guts and gore, but also logic and warmth and shining a light for the great people of Athens. Let's learn more about her as we go upstairs. Hey, Marcy, thank you so much for 490 stars. I appreciate you. Kathy, thank you so much for 100 stars. Hello, Ruslan, thank you so much for 19. Russian.
Acropolis that way.
Thank you.
Actual Acropolis is left.
They on the outskirts or y'all trying to go in?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Y'all want to go in?
Harold, thank you so much for the 200 stars. I bet the view is amazing. Oh, yeah. So here we can see the marble's very shockingly white, and that's because it's a new addition. There is a rule here, as far as I understand, that if there's at least 50% of the original structure, they will restore it and they'll add new pieces as long as they can find the original materials used, or the same origin of the original materials used. So in this case, apparently the 50% of this structure was found, and they're using the same marble that they would have used back in ancient times, and this is around 400 BC, most of these objects. So if people are wondering about accessibility, as I mentioned, Acropolis really doesn't have any. So if you're mobilely impaired, it's going to be very tough to visit most of these sites. Hey Panajota, it's nice to see you here. Actually, Ares was more of a headache for Zeus. That's funny, yeah. Ooh, a marble bench. Ooh, can I touch this bench? Oh my God, I think it might be actual marble. That's so cool. All right, everyone, I came here before and I did not see any other benches or that many benches going up forward. So this is the bench review part. Actual marble bench in an ancient site using the same, probably the same type of marble that these ancient sites used. So sit on the marble bench. Hopefully it's not too hot because of the sun. Oh, it is not too hot because of the sun. It's actually rather cool. Ooh, I like this. You know, if I had a throbbing headache like Zeus, I would feel rather comfortable in this marble bench. I like it. This is so nice. I like it so much that if I found it and I was a Earl from Scotland, I might be very well tempted to take it. But I won't do that because that's not cool. But an actual Earl did that a little bit further up. He liked a few things a little bit too much and kind of bent the rules in his favor. Let's learn about him soon. But this bench, which I will leave here because this is a Greek bench, the Greek people own it, is a beautiful bench. I love the views. Not as good as we're going further up, but is very cool to the touch. It's actually very comfortable. I like marble because the stone is like slightly porous. It's like cement, similar to cement, or like slippery in a comfortable way. So yeah, I like this bench. I would give this bench, let's see, a good no bird poo, no cat poo, beautiful views, some shade in an ancient site. 8.3. This is an 8.3 bench. Ooh, watch out, slippery. Unspecified V. Thank you so much for being part of Team Like. Slam that like button right now if you're enjoying this video. Let's get as many people here today watching as possible. And let me know if you're on Team Like. We're gonna continue walking up. Superman says, show us the beautiful views. Sure, we'll be seeing it in better detail as we go further up. Are those olive trees? Ooh, good question. We will see one olive tree for sure. But I don't know if these seem to be pines. But we will 100% be seeing a... Elizabeth says, marble will stay cool during the heat. It looks so Greek there, the sun. Yes, it is super, super sunny. Super sunny.
It has more of the Italian Venetian influences.
So watch your step here. Some stones can get rather slippery over time. These type of stones kind of get polished off because so many people were walking through it. Now, how much did it cost to get here? It's $20 just for the Acropolis, but pro tip, get the combo ticket. You can access every 7 of the ancient sites that are all in this nearby area for only €30. You'll save a lot of money, say maybe 30 bucks, 30 euros, because if you buy them individually, it'll be very expensive. This looks like a trip hazard. It is. It is. Did the ancient Greeks have shoes? They did. They had sandals, which I bought myself one today. I got a handmade sandal, leather. The same one, same company, same guy, same family that John Lennon got his own sandals when he visited Athens in 1967. You'll be learning about that in a separate video. Stay tuned. Are you wearing Nikes? Oh, you know, I'm not wearing Nikes. I'm wearing Converses. But Nike would be very appropriate because we will be seeing the temple of Nike. Imagine this in the storm at night. Oh yes, Cynthia. Because of the slipperiness, and also you'll be exposed to the elements. But oh yeah. Kay says, Paul sent 1,000 stars. Thank you so much, Paul. And Debbie sent 50 stars. Paul is very generous, $10. Thank you so much. Every 100 stars is about $10 or maybe a little bit more. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm loving this. Okay, I can't take too much time because they do close at about 7:50. So we're gonna kind of skip around a little bit. because I think the Pantheon is where it's at. So
And this guy here was the official of Alexander the Great, who constructed
there we're seeing it. The Temple of Nike. Nike, if you're pronouncing it like the American company. This was a foundry, a bronze foundry. Not much left of it. Ooh, the Pantheon was filled up. Oh, sorry, I might have said the Pantheon by mistake. Parthenon, Parthenon. Different from the Roman Pantheon.
Mama!
The word Parthenon, which is where we're going to visit right now, that was Athena's name. So it means different from the Pantheon, which means the place of the gods, of all the gods. Yeah, here in Greece, the hipsters wear Converse and Vans, says Panagiotis. Yep, I'm fitting right in. That's why a lot of people speak to me in Greek, Panagiotis. They don't assume I'm American straight up. Oh, just imagine being in this theater. So this is a Roman theater in the era of our main guy, Hadrian. Oh, you remember Hadrian? Lover of architecture, lover of ancient Greek history. To him it was ancient. It was already a few hundred years old. During this time he built this. This one's still in use, as evidenced by the lights, which are not ancient, ladies and gentlemen. The Greeks, they might be very ingenious, but they were still a few thousand years away from producing light bulbs. We can give credit to a man with a very similar name, or a name that comes from Greek, who innovated the light bulb, Nikola Tesla. It's kind of crazy to think about. Tesla. It's a Greek letter. It would be amazing to see a performance here. I'm very tempted to buy myself a ticket to see a performance there. All right, so which way am I walking? Let's see. Sarah. Oh yeah. Performances here are ongoing still, so. All right, here are the slippery steps of the Acropolis. Hope everyone has their good shoes, and hopefully not spiky, so you're not destroying the beautiful steps either. Don't bring those soccer shoes, but also don't bring super flat. Hey Tao, how are things? I'm doing very well. We're getting close.
We're coming. We are coming.
You got lucky with the wind.
Okay.
Tori's turn. Ew.
You don't like them?
Not that one. I like that one. I like that one. Not the first one.
Babu says, I'm imagining men with togas marching through here. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Now it's getting better. Zhao says, an influencer in their natural habitat. Watch out. Yes, indeed. Indeed. J'avoue. Don says this is your best trip. Oh, I'm glad you think so. All right, we're gonna see more of Athens, but let's go up to Parthenon.
Babe, можно встать сюда?
I can take it, Isa. Safa.
So here are the very slippery rocks, these red ones. Here we are. Oh, I'm so excited. So this is the Propylaea, pardon my pronunciation. It was built in 437 BC, and it's the grand staircase that leads to where all the action is. Now, right below it was a Roman extension built in 267 AD. Now, down there, we see all the shining lights, and those shining lights in the Athenian landscape, cityscape, are the solar panels on top of the rooftops where they heat up their water, and I think also they might get electricity from it. Definitely. So is the Acropolis more of a name for a castle or fort? The Acropolis is a means, and its original intention was a fort, but also, why is it so fortified? A, it has a great vantage point, but B, there's also very important, valuable things that were up these steps. What were they? Let's find out. The DKTS stairs has nothing on this, says Inspired. Touche.
Считали, что мог вместить не более 10 000 города. Именно отсюда появляется слово «идиот». Таким образом.
Hey Roxanne, thank you so much for a $5 super chat. To you. Yeah, I came here and it was my first day in Athens. I was tired off the plane, and just coming here immediately filled me with brimming energy because I was so stunned by its beauty. And we're not even to the main part yet. We're still walking in the main entrance. Okay, so it's gonna be that service. And excuse me. No time to waste. Bad service in this particular area, so I'm gonna rush up to the top of the hill. So many people, yeah. I'm tearing up, says Inspire Life. Oh, I'm so glad you are. Look at all the people down here. Lots of people taking selfies. Wait till you climb up the steps from the old Port Santorini. I can't wait. I'm ready. Susie, there's an earth cam. Really? There's an earth cam here. Oh, that's cool.
You know what we should have done? You know that TikTok?
Nira, cool. Am I going? I want to go to Cyprus at some point, but not for this trip. I have a friend from Cyprus, and she told me so many amazing things about it. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the symbol of Greece, the symbol of Western civilization. This is the Parthenon. This structure inspired countless others, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Go anywhere in Washington, D.C., and you'll see something that looks like the Parthenon. Go to New York. Boom, you have it there. Go to London. Boom, there's at least a handful of buildings that look exactly like it. Now, it looks like ruins nowadays, but it wasn't always like that. People were able to walk through the Parthenon, and it was mostly still intact. This was built in 447 BC by one of Athens' great leaders, Pericles. Being a king, or even being a president, he kind of just took leadership in terms of when it came to building. He wasn't even officially elected per se. He was a general, but also he got a seat in the democracy by pure randomness. And he took the lead to build a new Parthenon after the Persians invaded Athens in the second Persian invasion of Greece. That's where all the action happens in the movies like 300. The old Parthenon used to be right over here, and it was destroyed by those damn Persians, Xerxes and his army. So Pericles decided to build this new one right over here. Parthenon, as I mentioned, Athena's full title or name is Athena Parthenos. Inside, this was a temple dedicated to Athena. You can't go this way?
This way?
Oh, okay. Oh, I see, okay. All right, so there's a particular direction. So fair warning, everyone. You can only go one way.
Big Ben when I went to London.
Panagiotis says it's estimated that to build the Parthenon today, it would take $7 million US. Yeah, I don't doubt. Raphael says, wow, indeed. So fair warning, one of the guards told me to go this direction. So there's only a one direction here on this journey. Kyle says, oh, it's due to COVID reasons. You can generally go any direction you want. Yeah, I remember going any direction I want. Yeah. All right. Thank you for clarifying. So there used to be a huge, massive frieze. A frieze is kind of a statuary that is on top of a structure. We have a frieze on top of New York City's stock exchange, for example. Here they had a frieze representing all the gods. In the middle we had Poseidon and Athena, which dates to the reason why the city is called Athens. So there was a battle between Athena and Poseidon to decide who gains patronage of this great city. First, Poseidon decided to give the Greek people of this city, before it was called Athens, he decided to give them some salty water. According to legend, his trident fell right through here, which we're going to learn about soon. But Athena decided to give the great people of this area, of what people know as Greater Attica, an olive tree, which also we're going to see right over here. So the people deliberated, should we get some salty water? Or do we need some olive trees? Well, what will you choose? Let me know. Evidently, according to the name of this city and to the name of this temple that's dedicated to, they chose the olive tree, not the salty water. However, there's one irony. I took a food tour just a few, and the food tour guide was telling me that you can't really eat raw olives. You would need to put them in the brine, because raw olives is very bitter, it's kind of nasty, it's not so pleasant. So you would need salty water to make edible olives. So look where we have come to. We chose, the Greek people chose Athena, but it turns out we actually needed the salty water too. At least to eat some good olives. Just look how amazing this is. So just imagine this frieze on top. It would have been absolutely. That frieze was stolen many, many centuries ago from a lord from a very distant place. He was taking over most of Europe, and he was encroaching on Ottoman territory. A Scottish lord, Lord Elgin, his real name is Thomas Bruce, came over here, and he offered to restore and to preserve and to study the beautiful friezes and sculpturary all along the Acropolis. Here's an example of one of them. Lord Elgin was a huge fan of ancient Greek history. Like many people before him, like the founding fathers of America, like Alexander the Great, was also a fan of Pericles and the likes of Socrates. There was a specific set of rules. Lord Elgin could only preserve, can only dig up the sculptures. They can, chisel in and kind of take away the rust and the dirt or whatnot that was on the sculptures. But there was one clause. They cannot take the sculptures. That was the deal that Lord Elgin made with the Ottomans. He went back to Scotland and he left his team over here. But the thing is, Lord Elgin was spending so much money, up to £60,000 to restore and to study these sculptures. He was getting into massive debt because most of that money was borrowed. So as his men were looking at the sculptures, they had an interesting idea. They said, wait a minute, maybe we can borrow it, take it over to England so we can better preserve it. apparently the Ottomans weren't so keen on that happening, but they did it anyway. Once it got over, it was on display in Lord Elgin's manor in Scotland, but he was in massive debt and he had to get out of it. And no matter how much he liked ancient Greece, being in debt as a lord is a very bad position, very big shame, at least from his perspective. So he decided to sell it to the country of England. And hence, in museums in the entire world, which I visited on live video before, the British Museum. To this day, people call them the Elgin Marbles, but they're more, really should be called the Grecian marbles or the Athenian marbles. Marbles because the sculptures were mostly made out of marble. The thing is, they really didn't restore it too well, because just a few decades later, the British Museum was very overzealous in cleaning 247 feet of the frieze. We only see a tiny little bits and pieces of the frieze. He took 247 feet and there was about 500 of it. You see right there, just a little bit of the frieze. So if you've ever been to the British Museum, you can still see it to this day. It's right there. Those are the friezes and the sculpture pieces that are still on display to this day. But why are they still in the British Museum? Things get hella complicated once you ask that question. Because there's a whole lot of pieces that might have been acquired by questionable means in tons of museums, especially some of the most powerful museums belonging to some of the most powerful countries to this day, like the Louvre in Paris and like the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And thus, this brings a very big question, which I'm not going to discuss the politics of it, but there was a very unfortunate thing that recently happened. A very famous Picasso painting, an Modrian, was stolen here in Greece just a few weeks ago. And it was recently recovered just a few days ago. And as they were recovering it, the police department displayed the Picasso and the other painting as the press were taking photos and videos, and I'll show you what happened. Let me show you. This is what happened. Beautiful views of Athens. There's a clip from one of the major news sources. And and yeah, they dropped it. They dropped a very priceless Picasso, real painting, real Picasso, and the police put it on a very tiny ledge. And that's what happened. This is the Picasso in question, if you want to see it a little bit better. Let me pull it up right now. Yeah, this was the Picasso that was dropped. So, one of the kind of to the Greek people or to the country, if you have an appropriate place to store them, if they can be preserved. And since then, Athens built one of the most famous and one of the best museums in the entire world, the Acropolis Museum, which I hope to show you some bits and pieces of it a little bit later in a TikTok video. But this happened with the Picasso. So I'm not sure if this adds more fuel to the fire of this debate. So poor Picasso, hope it's okay. But nonetheless, let's not talk about the politics of it. It's very sad what happens in these. But I hope at least in the very least, wherever they are. Important thing that we still preserve our history any means possible. The skyline of Athens is not allowed to block the view. Yeah, that's why there's no skyscrapers here. No skyscrapers. Thank you, Paul, for adding that extra tidbit. I think it was stolen for 12 years. Oh, my mistake. Okay, thank you so much for the clarification. So it was stolen for 12 years. More than 12 years. Many years it was stolen. It was recovered just shortly here in Greece. So yeah, no skyscrapers could block the view. That's why, yeah, there are none here. Let's continue walking through. So this is absolutely breathtaking. Wow. Uh-oh. There's a drone flying ahead. Someone's droning it up. Do you feel the essence of time? Oh, indeed I do. So there's another thing that is interesting about the Pantheon, the Parthenon. Very similar words, easy to get them mixed up. The Parthenon barely has a straight angle in it, a right angle in it, because the entire thing is kind of curved in accordance to the terrain. Also, the columns are not equally spaced out. The columns are a little bit narrower towards the end. Same thing with the friezes or the reliefs up there. They are also not equally spaced. They look like it. So somehow the original architects and sculptors like Phidias and in the comments, they have very, very Greek names. They're pretty long. They were so ingenious and they really knew their mathematics, maybe with the help of a man like Pythagoras, that they figured out a way to conform to the terrain, make the actual Acropolis kind of like, this is like kind of the shape, the Acropolis is kind of bending down into the terrain. And yet from this, it's really interesting. And it's hard to kind of visualize. But if we get closer, maybe we'll see a little bit better. So here we see kind of how, my head's about to fly away, how it's sloping, it's built into the slope over here of the terrain. So since this was a temple of Athena, there was a gigantic statue of Athena right inside. If you were to walk in through this great Parthenon, this is how it would have looked like back then. You would have been stunned because inside was this. This is a recreation of it. It was plated in gold, a beautiful, gigantic statue, almost the size of this crane, which we're going to see soon right here, that crane. So you could just imagine how big it was going inside. It had two main rooms. One of them was with Athena right here in front. But something happened here, because back in the 1600s, you would be able to walk through the Parthenon and enjoy it. Has anyone ever seen my videos on the Pantheon in Rome? Or have you visited yourself? Let me know in the comments. If you visited the Pantheon, you're probably stunned. How is this piece of architecture still? Well, that was the case back in the 1600s with the Parthenon. It was just like walking into the Pantheon. Still standing, still had a roof, still was a building. But then this Ottoman territory was attacked by the Venetians. The Venetians were allied with Greek rebels. The Ottomans had a habit of storing very powerful explosives in major historical buildings. I'm not sure why the Ottomans do that. Doesn't sound like a good idea. But the reason I think they did it was because they thought to themselves, who in the world is going to attack such a beautiful piece of architecture like the Parthenon? So let's store it here so we avoid the Venetians attacking this. The Venetians attacked it. They actually did not intend to blow up the Parthenon, so they tried to set cannon fire to right next door. And this was filled with a bunch of explosives. And the Parthenon blew up. I laugh nervously because it's a terrible thing. What were you thinking, Ottomans? It blew up. It's terrible. It's terrible. I laugh out of nervousness because if that were to happen today, you know, if that would happen to like the stock exchange building or the U.S. Capitol, I would be devastated. So wow, so sad. Here's a depiction of the events. Oh, you can pass. Poor roof went away. You know, if that did not happen and the Ottomans did not leave explosives and the Venetians or in DICKs or in some Malaccas, we could have walked through this Parthenon today, just like we can walk through the Pantheon to this day. Damn you, Venetians and Ottomans. I won't blame the Greeks. We'll just blame on the Venetians. Love the ancient crane. So yeah, so there are pieces out here. So you see some more whiter marbles. It's because those are the restored parts. Again, let's not get into politics. I just use the U.S. Capitol as a important U.S. reference because as an American, that's like a very important thing. But let's not talk about whatever happened in very recent current events, unless if it's more than 100 years old. This happened in World War II? Yeah, it happened in World War II. No, this happened in the 1700s, but many other beautiful classical sites were also destroyed during World War II. So let's see if I can walk around this beautiful building right over here, and then we'll see more of the Acropolis.
Greece had its kind of like.
So that attack happened in September 26. The Venetians attacked this Ottoman territory. Greece was under Ottoman rule for hundreds of years. The Ottomans are the modern day Turks. We call them Turkey now because it's now the Turkish Republic, but they're the same people, same lineage. It's like the Greeks, the Greek Republic still follows the same lineage as the ancient Greeks, or the Italian also follows the lineage of the ancient Romans. Now, actually, before I continue, in 1715, they lost this beautiful piece of architecture because they stupidly put a bunch of bombs in it. They decided, hey, let's save this. You know, let's make this a little bit better. Let's make this still a little bit pleasant to visit. So let's build a huge mosque. A huge mosque in the middle of the Parthenon. So this was the big mosque that was right in the middle of the Parthenon since the 1700s. Again, I laugh out of nervousness because it's not anything against Islam or anything. It could be any. It could. I would have been saddened if it was a Catholic church as well built in there, or a Buddhist temple or whatnot, or some type of governmental building. That would be like, oh, come on. Here is one of the most beautiful sculptures. So, the entire made out of columns. So we have DIC, Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. Which ones are these? Let me know. I'm quizzing the people who are watching on live video. Spoilers. Thank you so much. So Ionic, yeah, as the woman whispered.
No, scusa, al contrario, con i romani si potevano liberare, potevano diventare ricchi.
So yeah, it is Ionic. Ionic. You can say it out loud. So this is the Erectian, 421 BC. And Lord Elgin actually took one of them, which is in the British Museum, but the rest are still here, luckily. A lot of sculptures were indeed taken. This is one of the few ones left. I think they were replaced with replicas, if I'm correct. But they are one of the few examples of sculptures in the human form, or I mean columns in human form. And one of the legs is raised up. I think the one that's lower is the one that's the actual column. And you see this beautiful drapery. And her olive tree that she offered to what would later be the Athenians. Here it is. Athena's olive. Of course, it's not the original one. That would be a very old olive tree. But the Athenians do plant a new olive tree ever so often in order to pay tribute to Athena. How old is that tree? Not that old. No, not that. No, I don't know how old it is, but it's not that old. I think it's replanted ever so often. Maureen says, "Love your journalism." Maureen, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. But just to correct you, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. This is not journalism, and this is not academia. I respect academics. I also respect journalists. Journalists do amazing jobs. Journalists and academics provide a very long list of sources. Academics usually provide an even longer list. And they're peer reviewed. This is neither journalism nor academia. This is pure entertainment. So do your own research when watching this show. I respect history, I love history. I do my own research, but I'm off scripted. No second phone, just enjoying the sights, telling you what I've learned, like if you were hanging out with a friend. Hey, Diana says my son is in Greece on vacation. He just went. B. Griffin, I was mentioning academics. Academics are peer reviewed. Journalists aren't, but they provide sources. Used to be. Oh, are they making the Acropolis accessible? Oh, I wonder if this is an elevator to provide accessibility. Oh, that's great. So, ladies and gentlemen, there might be good news for people with mobility issues. You might be able to come up here. That's very good news. I hope. Oh, and they're paving. Oh, that's very good. Oh, Panajota says, yeah, that's the elevator. Oh, I'm so glad that's happening. So this is one of the tallest mounts within the city because there's mountains that surround the city. We're almost in the valley. I don't think it's fully a valley because there's a few openings. But this is the tallest mount, which we'll be visiting on Monday. Stay tuned. Ilya says it's indeed an elevator that we use for accessibility. Oh, that's so cool. That's good to know. That's awesome. That's awesome. It seems like it's not fully open yet, but that's awesome.
Oh my God.
So this is the Equatorian, pardon my pronunciation. Now we're looking at these buildings and the Americans, we Americans learned a lot by the ancient Greeks. We learned a lot about the ancient Greeks, but I think fathers forgot some very important detail when recreating all these wonderful architecture in Washington, D.C., and New York, and Boston, and etc. They forgot one gigantic detail. It wasn't this white. There was color all around, colorful, but the color has worn out throughout the era. And when we made these, the Capitol, the Stock Exchange Building, Federal Hall, we decided to we need some color up in here. Nuke, indeed. It would be amazing to go inside, yeah. Blame the Venetians, everyone. Blame the Venetians. Damn Venetians. The history is amazing. The buildings were painted, no? Yep, Tao. Okay. So I mentioned that Athena gave the olive tree. We can see it right there. Wow, this is so cool. This is a great opportunity for photos. Look at the sun, how it's shining over here. So Athena gave the olive tree, and Poseidon bestowed people with salty water, which is a very compelling offer, Poseidon. I mean that very sarcastically, because it's probably the worst offer. Come on, a god is just giving you salty water. He could do better. You can't even drink salty water. So he threw his trident, and the way the salty water came was through the trident that crashed through this temple and hit right down there. And let's see if we can actually take a peek. Right there, you see the hole? According to legend, of course, apparently gods aren't real. That's what people say. And right there, you see that hole? It's a little bit hard to see. I can barely see it because you can't really walk across it, but you see the wooden paneling? I'm gonna see if I can zoom in. That's where the Poseidon's trident would have landed. And yes, Panagiotis, thank you so much for clarifying. Oh, we have another Panagiotis. So we have two Panagiotis tuning in. So many Greek viewers tuning in now to these videos. I'm so glad. Poseidon was the god of the sea. Indeed he was. Yes, so that's why the water was salty. Wow. And here's the Grecian sun, which I am burning. Panagiotis is from Olympus in the distance, says Ali. Oh, good question. I am still not well versed in the geography of Greece or Athens. So Olympus should not be visible as far as I know, because that's all the way up north, closer to Thessaloniki. Olympus from Thessaloniki, and you might see snippets of it. You need plenty of water, says Wendy. Oh yeah, I brought two bottles of water with me, but it isn't enough. So pro tip, bring at least a few more and freeze them before you come here. Love. Here we can see a little bit better. Oh, look at that. Here's a better view to see where Poseidon's trident apparently landed. Yeah, I like Athena much better. I don't mean to pick favorites, but I don't know. I like Athena a little bit better than Huitzilopochtli from the Aztec mythology or Mexica mythology. She seems much more friendlier. At least you got olives with Athena. As opposed to hearts. Much better. Though I wonder if Tlaloc, the god of rain in ancient Mexica / Aztec culture, hung out with Poseidon. Let me know. Do you think those guys hung out? Tlaloc does not look very talkative. Poseidon looks very talkative. Renee says, I prefer Xibalba over Hades, though. Yes. I feel that. Xibalba is very beautiful. The Xibalba, Renee's referring to, is Xibalba the Mayan underworld? Or is it the Aztec underworld? There were sacrifices here indeed. So there were sacrifices here. So what was the temple used for? Let me know in the comments. What do you... The Ottomans stored bombs and weapons and ammunition. Then they built a mosque. Before that was ever a mosque / weaponry, ammunition, barracks, it was a Catholic church. Yep, literally it was a Catholic church. But before it ever was a Catholic, I think this was for. And someone earlier asked what's the admission, 30 euros for all the sites, 7 sites, all of them. You can use it in 5 days. It was a treasury of ancient Athens, says Mistakos. Yes, Mistakos, you got it right. It was a treasury for ancient Athens. So how did Pericles even have the money to buy this? This was not a... Pericles has no signs of his name anywhere on this building. None of the sculptors do. Ancient Athens was very, very adamant in keeping the nature of democracy. No one man was going to take all the glory. So how did Pericles even afford this in the first place? Because as we know, in many democracies, one of the common complaints to pay for it. That's one of the common complaints throughout the history of democracy and republics, and representative democracies as well. So Pericles had an idea. There was a treasury, there was this alliance between the different areas of ancient Greece. They were all a bunch of different city-states. Ancient Greece wasn't one entire empire. That came a little bit later with Alexander the Great. They had the Delian League in the island of Delos. Right in the middle of the Aegean Sea is where they collected all that sweet, sweet coin. And they put it in the middle of that main temple. They call it a temple. But the thing is, most of the worship wasn't inside. Yes, there was a statue of Athena, but most of the worship happened right in front. Here, there's really no evidence that happened in front, so no one knows for sure. But in other places, in other similar temples that look almost exactly the same, there was an altar right in front. And that's where they did ritual sacrifice. But don't worry, it wasn't quite the style as it was in other parts of the world. The ritual sacrifice usually was just with animals. I don't condone it either, but that was the case. Thus, this temple, Pericles decided to take the gold from that island, bring it over here to Athens to keep it safe, and store it right here in the Parthenon. And one of the ways he decided to keep it safe, and this was the idea of the sculptor, was, hey, wait a minute, let's see, maybe we should like smelt the gold and use it for the statue of Athena. And if we ever need the money, we can, destroy the statue of Athena and, build a new one that's cheaper. Democracy had the first seeds of capitalism in it. So that's what they did. They built a huge statue of Athena, plated in gold that was used from the coins from that island of Delos. Right in the middle. So kind of crazy to think about. And I assume the island wasn't a big fan of it because later on they had the Peloponnesian War and all went to hell in these city-states. This stuff survived for 2,000 plus years of weather, pollution, wars, vandalism, and earthquakes. Can we still do that? So there's one structure in New York City that I know of that will last for 40,000 years, and that is the Hellgate Bridge. Otherwise, no, we don't have too many buildings that will last the test of time, I think. There might be more studies on it, so maybe someone could find some better stats. So the statue was not just gold paint. Nope, it was gold plated. Let's get closer to... Actually, let's go this way. Tao says, what about the NSA building? Yeah, the NSA building in New York, which is the AT&T Long Lines building, also known as 33 Thomas Street. Yes, that building might actually last the test of time. Yeah, it might last. So how many years old is this? Asked Babu. This was built in 447 BC. So do the math. 400 something years plus 2,000. 2,400 years. That's how old it is. Nearly 2,500 because we're about like 20 years shy of reaching that mark. So that's how old this is. What kind of stone is it made out of? Marble. Pure marble. It was a pure marble palace. Just like some suburban homes nowadays in the US. We've reached full circle in America. We went from the Parthenon here in the old world to building marble palaces in commercialized, capitalistic, suburban homes. McMansions. Isn't that beautiful poetry, ladies and gentlemen? History, someone once said, let me know who was the originator of the quote, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Is that an AC unit? Yeah, there are AC units in the little cabins for security. But let's go here. The Acropolis has been used for fortification for most of the Ottoman history. Hence, that's why there was weaponry up here. And here's part of the fortification that we see. Now we see the Greek flag here on the top. And it's one of the most important selfie locations in the entire area. Mark Twain said that, says Jeff. Thank you so much. And B. Griffin said that the same. I see rain clouds. Oh yes, rain clouds overhead. So maybe the Venetians were aiming at this and accidentally hit that. Who knows? Oh, this is a little bit newer, so there might have been another fortification before this. Tommy says, what time of history would you like to travel back in time to? Before the Great Flood.
It's a viewpoint. I was there with
So that's 13,000 years ago. I want to see what was there. Oh, look at this. I think the rain clouds really add to the effect, so it's nice that we have them, Gary. But I know what you mean. Don't worry, it's not going to rain. Panagiotis K says, any collaborations on live? Maybe, it depends, maybe. No solidified plans yet, but maybe you'll see. Robert asks, are you familiar with the writings of Zachariah Sitchin? Ooh, I don't know who that is. You can see many landmarks, says Vasilios. Really? Can we? Oh yeah, we can see the Olympic Stadium down there. What's this one here? Let me know. What's this one? Right there. Let's zoom in. This seems like a highly strategic location on the hill. It is, yeah. So from here, the ancient Greeks and then later the Ottomans. There was a lot of people who were here. Greeks, Romans, well, Greeks, Macedonians, Romans, Byzantium, which was the Roman Empire after the other half fell, and then the Ottomans, and then the Greek Republic. All had to protect their harbor, the most valuable possession. To this day, the harbor and the shipbuilding, or the shipping industry, transportation industry, is the second most valuable industry in Greece after tourism. So that harbor has to be protected at all costs. Felix says, nice live stream. Bravo. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Felix. Barb says, what contrast in New York City? Oh, yeah. Huge contrast in New York City.
I think that was our porch right there, because there's the new hotel on top. Yep. Yep, exactly. Yeah, that was it right there. Yeah, and then I think my hotel was just
Can you see
behind
the
it. Okay.
mountain background?
Yeah. Because I remember that white building right there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's the little porches.
Thank you. Do you guys want a picture?
Wow, this is just like so neat. So unbelievable.
Nina, the population here is 4 million people.
Getting all this rock up here and building these walls.
$4 million. Isn't that bigger than New York City, says Babu. No, New York City is 8 million people in the proper city. So this is 4 million. It is pretty huge, so it's half of New York. And bigger than a lot of European cities. Look at that. Oh. Great job, Ariel. It feels like I'm with you. So much for becoming a super urbanist. We have a lot of people who became super urbanists recently. Ava, Lowell, Michael, Irene, Alicine, many others. Nina says, I think has to be 10 million people in New York. Potentially there could be up to 600,000 people unaccounted for in New York that are not population of Ireland is just 4 million people. Wow. Okay, Athens is the same size as Ireland. I didn't realize that. Wow, Ireland is not that densely populated as I thought it would be. Does it rain here a lot? No, I don't think so. For any of the Greek viewers out there, do let me know. Is this a rainy city? Well, 4 million. Athens metropolitan area says Vesalios, yes. Which I assume we can see most of it, Vesalios. Do let us know. We're seeing most of the metropolitan area, right? It should be within the confines of these mountains. Area is smaller than New York, but almost the same size as New York, if not smaller, so it's definitely very dense. Not much rain, only in autumn, yeah. The sunset looks like honey over the white stone, yeah. Linda says, wow, what time is it here? 7:30? Okay. All right, so. Wow. I'm in love. Absolutely mind-blowing experience being up here. JL, you're watching me on your 65-inch screen. Wow, that's so epic. I'm glad you're watching me on such a big screen. That's awesome. The wind sounds like ancient ghosts. Oh yes. The ghosts of Athens is here. The ghost of democracy past is here. Will I ever do an Italian vlog? Asked Giovanni. Yes, I went to Italy in October 2019, and I might return once again. My visit, I might take advantage of going to Venice before the hordes of tourists swarm it once again. So I could, you guys help support this show and keep it running despite any challenges, and find a way to do it live, whatever way possible. So thank you. So here we have the columns that we saw earlier. Inspire Life under the Super Urbanist. Thank you so much. Susie, we are indeed doing it live, just like the song in the second Urbanist album, Urbanist Coffee Break. Here's the outline of the Pantheon. No, sorry, Parthenon. Here are the marbles. They're called Caryatides. Interesting. This is called the Equatorian, yes. The building is called the Equatorian, but the columns are called Caryatides. A little bit hard to pronounce. Thanks for the wealth of information, says Henning. My pleasure. I'm so glad you enjoyed this tour. The sun is getting better and better and better. Those statue ladies don't look like they're wearing any brassieres. They aren't. No, they're not. There wasn't a brassiere. I think the brassiere was invented many centuries later. So no. And they're also, on purpose, the cloth is translucent. So if I were to really zoom in, you could see the entire breast. But we have the kitties watching, so can't do that. When you speak Greek, use your Spanish accent, Vasileos. I've actually realized that. Like, I do need to use my Spanish accent. So, Cartiris. And Sophocles. Ooh, I like this. Parthenon. Right? Parthenon in Athena Am I sounding more Greek now? Oh my God, did we just all discover a cheat code when it comes to pronunciation in Greece for Spanish speakers out there? Is this the Parthenon of Athena? You sound Cypriot, says Panagiotis. That's so cool. Oh my God. Diogenes? Is that how I pronounce that beautiful philosopher's name? Diogenes? Socrates? I can now say all the Greek words. I know Greek, ladies and gentlemen, and people of all genders. I know Greek. That's amazing. Ashley, okay, will do. Kalispera. Socrates. Dina says it's all Greek to me. Go on, I adore how Cypriots speak, says Panagiotis. Oh, interesting, Cypriots have that type of accent. So we're standing on so much history right now, it's kind of mind-blowing. And let's see if we can show you the views right over here. So we'll see Piraeus. If the fellow Greeks that are watching, where's Piraeus? Number one, because that's a port down there. That's definitely a port. I see a lot of gigantic cranes. Number two, or is it more over here, number three? Which one's Piraeus? 3, 2, 1. Let me know, Vasilios. Number 2, says Vasilios. Okay, thank you. Number 2, right there. That area, that general area is Piraeus. So, Piraeus. Well, that one's a little bit harder to pronounce in Spanish. So the ancient Greeks, including Pericles, decided to protect Athens, but Athens is a bit far away from its main harbor. What made Athenian great and what made it rich was its navy. Spartans had amazing, brutal, shirtless warriors that would constantly scream with their gigantic beards. But the Athenians had gigantic ships that would go off to islands in the Aegean Sea and borrow the gold. So they had to protect their harbor. And thus, he had an ingenious idea. Why not just build a gigantic wall between Athens and the port? And just have a wall that goes straight to it, a passageway. And that's what they end up doing. It was pretty ingenious, I must say. Though it was destroyed later by the Spartans, those damn Spartans. Those damn Spartans. What do they think? They think this is Sparta? No, it's not. Why did they destroy the wall? It would have been a beautiful wall. Vasilios, no comment on Vasilios' comment. Feel free to read and chuckle to yourself, but no comment. Oh, we reached the dead end. But this is the little corner of the Parthenon. Soon, next weekend, I'll be out to visit the great island of Santorini, the honeymoon capital of the world. And then later on, we're going up north to Thessaloniki. What? Oh. We've caught a crime as big as Lord Elgin taking all those damn marbles. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I will be signing off from here, right in front of the steps of the great Parthenon, wishing that the Venetians never decided to bombardier this Acropolis, and visualizing me walking through it. Maybe I'll commune with the gods a little bit later as the sun starts setting and leaving this beautiful view. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more of them, and you think it's worth traveling around the world virtually for $5, if you think that is worth your contribution, you can do so by pressing that join button right now on YT, pressing that become a supporter button on FB, or becoming a patron. You can do so and become a super urbanist and get access to some bonus videos, including a 360 video, which I'm going to film very quickly before this closes. So thank you everyone so much for tuning in. God, praise Athena and her beautiful logic. Praise the gold that used to be stored in here. Everyone, thank you so much for watching from the birthplace of democracy, of that we know all around this area of the world, and of drama. Oh, this is such a magical place. From the Parthenon, I leave you. Kalispera to all the urbanists out there. Keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye. Oh, the sun is out. Have a great day, everyone.